What is up everybody, I'm hoping you're well, and yes, I know I took a while getting this review out to you. I actually saw this movie on its first initial release day. I just had a lot of shit getting in the way, so I couldn't record or even have time to edit or anything like that. But you don't want to hear me talk about that, you want to hear me talk about the latest Thor movie. And who would have thought out of all of the OG Avengers that Thor would have been the first one to get a fourth solo outing, which when you think about it is a little surprising considering the first two movies aren't exactly considered great, but Ragnarok absolutely smashed it out of the park. You got Taika Waititi back on board to direct, but does this movie live up to the expectations set by Ragnarok? Well, that's what we're here to talk about, guys. So without any further delay, and the 2 weeks late notice of this review, maybe 3 weeks, when did this movie come out again? However long it has been, let's get down to this review and let's talk about it. Thor, Love and Thunder. So Thor, Love and Thunder, like I said, is the fourth entry into the Thor movie franchise and like the 29th, I believe, into the MCU. It sees Thor after the events of Endgame. He's on a journey of self-discovery, trying to find out where he fits in the universe. However, when he comes across a trail of gods who are being butchered by Gore, the God Butcher, and his next target is Asgard, he must return home in order to save his people. And I have to say, I was super hyped for this movie. I absolutely loved Ragnarok. I love Taika Waititi as a whole. I think he's an incredibly smart director. He's always very funny, and I just like the movies that he's made. As you can see, I own What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilderpeople, and Jojo Rabbit on Blu-ray. I think they're incredible movies that if you haven't checked out, I highly recommend doing so. I also think he's a terrific actor as well. While he does play Korg in this movie through motion capture, he does give awesome performances in other roles that he is in. And I really like his style of comedy. However, with that being said, you can have a bit too much of it. And by a bit too much, I mean that drunk friend who's always making jokes, and while a few of his jokes land here and there, he comes off incredibly annoying. Sounds a little like myself, and that's kind of how this movie feels. There's a lot of jokes just crammed into this film. It felt more like a bit of a parody and a spoof rather than an actual MCU movie. And a lot of my friends compare it in the same way. I'm sure some reviewers have also compared it in the same way. I don't really know. I always like to stick away from other people's reviews until I've recorded my own. But there were so many moments in this movie that were just stupid, and not stupid in the haha, let's laugh at that because it is stupidly funny, as in just stupid. Sure, a couple of them got a little chuckle out of me, like there's a moment where he rides Stormbreaker like a broom. Tiny little spoiler there, I guess. And while when I first watched it, I was like, huh, that's pretty funny. I then just sat back and thought how stupid it was. It was just a very weird thing to see. There's also a gag involving goats in this movie, which was like a funny thing maybe 10 years ago. And I thought it was just going to be a one-time appearance, but they constantly appear throughout this movie. They're a pivotal part of this film, to the point where I just found them genuinely annoying. And a lot of a comedy is like that. A lot of the jokes go on for far too long. There's like a love triangle between Thor, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir, which at first was hilarious. I absolutely pissed myself the first time it happened, but it just continues to go on and on and on to the point where you're just like, okay, I need something new. This is getting far too much for me. That being said, while the jokes do take up the majority of this movie, I can't say I had a bad time with it. It's still a very fun time. I know that really sounded like I was really ripping on the movie. I was more ripping on more of the comedy just being overused in this film. The movie overall is tons of fun. I mean, it looks amazing. This is one of the better looking MCU movies. The cinematography is great, the CGI is really good, and the use of colours is amazing, especially in one scene where all the colours just sort of drop out and it becomes like a black and white movie, other than a few spots here and there. It was absolutely stunning to see. There are some gorgeous visuals in this film, which just proves how much work went in behind the camera, because the movie does look great. It's just more the writing that fails for this movie and being far too comedic. That being said, I do have to give the movie credit because it does dial back on the comedy when it is focusing on Gore the God Butcher, played incredibly by Christian Bale. He's absolutely my favourite part of this movie. His motivations are clear. You believe why he's doing what he's doing. Granted, the plan that he sort of puts in motion to try and get to Thor is a little stupid in comparing to his own thoughts on the gods, but I can't go into detail about because it's a spoiler. But I thought Christian Bale was great in this movie. He felt very menacing, very intense. He felt like a genuine threat to Thor and our heroes. Speaking of Thor, Chris Hemsworth, of course, reprises his role as you'd expect him to do. He is incredible in this role as expected. He's just a very funny guy. I really do like that they've utilised Chris Hemsworth comedic talents in these movies, especially the later movies with Ragnarok and this movie. You can see that they're all having fun in this movie, and he does do a good job in the role. However, that being said, the writing does seem to make Thor out to be a bit more of an idiot than his previous counterpart. Sure, in the first movie, Thor was a fish out of water, but he still had a sense of intelligence to his character. He knew a lot about the galaxy and other worlds. But as the movies have gone on, I feel like they've been dumbing Thor down to just use his stupidity to make a good joke here and there. While some of the jokes do hit, there are a lot of the times where you think, yeah, but Thor really isn't that stupid. There are some moments in the movie where I feel like I'm watching a cartoon rather than an actual MCU movie. Granted, I know these movies are very heightened, very over the top. I mean, it is superheroes flying around the universe saving places. But the other MCU movies have done a good job of making them feel grounded in their own sort of universe, their own reality. Whereas in this movie, like I said, I felt like I was watching a parody, a cartoon almost. There are a lot of gags and moments in this movie that do feel like they should have fit into a Robot Chicken episode. You also have Natalie Portman returning as Jane, and I have to say she was a lot better in this movie than she was in the other two movies. I felt like she actually cared about the material, I felt like she was actually having fun. This movie actually did a better job than the previous two movies of building up the relationship between her and Thor. That being said, they do something with her character at the start that, because I hadn't seen her in so long, I didn't really care about. I'm sorry, I just didn't give a shit. One thing that I did like though is when she's being a superhero, she's very new to it, and you do see that side to her, that very naive side who just wants to jump into battle. She's trying to come up with cool catchphrases, which, while funny at first, again, goes on for a little bit too long. But I have to say, the chemistry between her and Chris Hemsworth was a lot better in this movie than it has been in the previous two. I thought they did a really good job together. They're all having fun together. I really liked Jane in this movie. I really thought Natalie Portman did a good job in this film. Other returning characters include Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. You've got Taika Waititi returning as Korg. You even get a brief appearance by the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I kind of expected more of, considering where they left Thor at the end of Endgame. But, you know, they're there for a bit. Kind of. You also have new cast members like Christian Bale, who I've already touched upon, but you also have Russell Crowe as Zeus, who was just a real hoot. I'm not gonna lie, I really like the scene with Zeus. Again, it felt very over the top, very parody, very cartoonish, but I had a lot of fun with that scene. I thought it was very exciting. And while something does happen to Zeus that you could consider quite shocking, without going into spoilers, you do see where it's going, and so it does lose that sort of impact that it was trying to have. But I can't really say I saw a bad movie in this performance. And when you can see the actors genuinely having fun, having great chemistry together, clearly having a laugh on set together, that does feed off onto the audience when they're watching a movie, and so it does make that movie a lot more enjoyable. And as I said, I did find this movie very fun and very enjoyable. I just didn't feel like it lived up to what Ragnarok was. I felt it focused far too much on the comedy rather than the drama elements. There are some things in the movie that don't necessarily make sense. I don't know how much freedom Taika Waititi had on this movie, or how much he was streamlined by Marvel. I feel like he had a lot of freedom considering the amount of gags that are in this movie. But I'm not going to throw blame on anyone's side as to why this movie maybe wasn't as good as it should have been. But it's also not a bad movie either. It is a very enjoyable film. I had a really good time with it. And while definitely not the best MCU movie ever made, it's certainly better than the previous two Thors in my opinion. And so, for all those reasons, I'm going to give Thor Love and Thunder 3 stars. So, Thor Love and Thunder, have you guys seen it yet? What did you guys think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section below. Alternatively, you can also check out my review for this movie on Letterboxd. The link to my profile is in the description box below, where I also review other movies that may not necessarily be on my channel. Thanks as always for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you want to see more videos just like this one, then subscribe to my channel for more. Thanks again for watching, you guys are awesome, and I will see you all in the next video.